This review is of Yubico. For those who don't know it, Yubico is a company that provides physical security keys for two-factor and multi-factor authentication purposes. And here's an example of one. So during the Black Friday sales, I got a message from Bleeping Computer saying, hey, there's a bunch of sales going on you can take advantage of. And I did take advantage of a couple of them, actually 3. One was for Surfshark, which I later canceled because I was having too much trouble with it. Another one was for, I think it was one of the password management companies. And then the third one was for Yubico, in which I would get a buy one, get one half off deal. So I went on there and looked at what they had to offer because I was very interested in it. I'm a little bit skeptical, not skeptical, but nervous about it because of the potential of the security key being damaged. So when I saw a suggestion on their website, you should probably get a backup, I thought, you know, that actually is a really good point. And also, I want to be able to use the security key with both my computer and my phone, but my phone is USB-C and my computer can do USB-C and USB-A. So I thought, okay, I'll get one that is specific to USB-A and I'll get one that's USB-C. Well, but then I was looking around and I thought I saw one that had both USB-A and USB-C together on, you know, either side of the key. And I thought, oh, that would be even better because that's, you know, USB-C is faster and stuff like that. They do also have ones where you can leave them like semi-permanently plugged into your computer. I didn't really want that because that kind of defeats the purpose. So like if I walk out the door and somebody comes into the house and is trying to hack my computer, well, I just gave them the key by leaving it in the computer. So it didn't really make sense to me to do that. So I ended up ordering 2 keys, and you saw the one, the 5C NFC, which is USB-C and also NFC compliant. So NFC is some kind of wireless connection, I guess. And this is also certified by FIDO. So I received the package eventually, and I accidentally purchased what I thought was a USB-A, USB-C, but turned out to be USB-A and FireWire. And I don't have any Apple devices anymore, and I wasn't planning to get any, and I didn't need FireWire connection for sure. So I was like, oh man. Now obviously the sale was done, and I thought, well, it's my fault. They may not want to help me. And that would be totally within their right to refuse to accommodate me. But I hadn't opened the package yet. So I finally got around to contacting them, left a message on their website saying, hey, I recently purchased this, but I made this mistake because I got a YubiKey 5CI. Don't need that. And I had meant to get one with USB-A and C. I haven't opened the packaging. How can I get the correct key? So the person who responded, Michael, he said, hey, happy to help. We can't make exchanges, but you can return it for a refund, then purchase the correct key. And he gave me the address to mail it to. And they explained that once they receive it, they'll refund it and credit it back to me and blah, blah, blah. But I have to pay for shipping. Well, and that makes perfect sense because it was my mistake, not theirs. And I don't know, maybe I was having a blood sugar problem at the time. Because, you know, when you have blood sugar problems, your brain gets all foggy and you kind of go in slow motion and your thought processes aren't particularly clear. But then I wrote back and said, hey, does that mean that my new key would not have the discounted Black Friday price? And so his response was that he would have to check on that for me to see what could be done about that eventually. So he said he would contact the appropriate team and see what they could do for me about that, so that I would be able to take advantage of the Black Friday code. Which, that was cool that he was at least going to look it up. Although I did kind of wish that he had thought of that first, be proactive. That is an important skill in customer service, is to figure out, is there some way I can proactively make this customer happier? So he checked it out, and he said that he wanted to know the key that I wanted to purchase, and then they would issue a coupon so that I could still receive the deal. So that was fantastic. And so I wrote back and I said I needed whichever one is USB A and C, which they don't actually sell. They only have USB A plus Firewire or USB C, but no USB A and USB C on one key. Not sure why that is, but probably it's a technological challenge, and it was, I don't know, maybe it was too expensive to do that. I really don't know. So then I chose the one that I probably wanted to get, the USB A, and he sent me the code for that. So I was pretty pleased about that. And so he sent me the address again, because I hadn't noticed that he'd previously sent it to me. For some reason, this whole email chain got broken up into like 3 different pieces, and there's repetition from one chain to another, and I'm not really sure what was going on with that. That was, kind of a point of confusion for me. So he sent me the code in order to get the buy one get one 50% off deal, and then I was like, oh, okay. And again, this it's not in chronological order. It's split up between these 3 different threads, and so it's very confusing for me as I'm trying to describe this to you, which is why I keep on going and pausing and stuff like that, because I'm trying to piece it all together. But anyways, he sent me that. I was thinking about it. I was like, wait a second. I already have one key, because I was going to return the other key. Now I would have to buy another key at full price and a third key at half price. I was like, I only want to replace the key that I mistakenly ordered with the correct one that I actually need. So this is not actually a viable solution for me, because I'm going to end up spending more money. And so it was like, I don't want to use the code, because I don't want 3 keys. I only want 2. And I didn't hear back from him, if I recall correctly. Again, this is all spread out weirdly between 3 different threads, which just, I don't know what's going on with that. But then I got a thing asking for feedback on the support that I had received, and I provided some feedback. And I thought, well, that's the end of that. I guess I'm just going to have to return that one key, which I did. I returned the key that I couldn't use, and they gave me my money back, minus not the shipping, of course. That was because it was my mistake. And so I figured, well, like most companies, I'm never going to hear from them again about what had happened. And I really was convinced that was going to be the case, that it was all done. But surprisingly, a different person named Jim reached out to me, and he said that he had received the feedback from me and that he wanted to discuss it with you further. He saw it as an opportunity to assist me further. Those were his words. And he asked me a few questions and made some comments, and confirmed that they received the key and refunded it. and they gave me the code and asked if that was all correct. And he also stated that Yubico, by policy, does not exchange items purchased through the web store or any other store. But he did make clear that feedback is crucial to them, and if there was anything more that could be done to address my concern, that he'd like to know. So I went ahead and I gave him further feedback, clarifying, what had happened and how I felt about the Black Friday code, having to, order a second key to get a third key, and I only wanted 2 keys, and that it was my fault that I'd ordered the wrong key, but I didn't see any reason why I should use that code if it was going to require me to, spend even more money than I had originally spent, therefore negating the value of that code. But I did say, if you can explain why I would want 3 keys, I would like to know. And then I rephrased it just to make sure that my meaning was clear, and pointed out that it didn't really seem to make sense to me that their policy was that no exchanges were allowed, and that if Yubico really wanted to accommodate me, that it would have made more sense to provide a code that matched that intention, or otherwise enabled me to get the correct key, or just change the policy. Or maybe the policy complicates, since the policy complicates such an attempt to satisfy a customer, would make more sense to request that I return both keys and then use the Black Friday key code to order again. Sure, a bit of an inconvenience, but the policy is already just that for both customers and customer service. I guess it just really just boils down to what Yubico's priorities are, don't you think? I was being very polite about it, because the person seemed to be genuine, and I said I hoped that I had successfully answered his questions, but I would, if there were more questions, go ahead. And then I had a different question about it's unrelated to this topic, but basically it's about the certifications that are shown on the packaging, which is FIDO, ROHS, UK, ACA, CE, and then there's a recycling symbol there too. And I just wanted to understand, because I've been told by some people on one of the tech forums I go to that those certifications, you really only need 1 or 2, and anything extra is not necessary. And I just wanted clarification on that. And so he wrote back, and he came up with a solution, and I hadn't expected that. I figured, once I laid things out for him, he'd be like, okay, thank you, and we appreciate it. There's nothing further we can do to help you. And he admitted that he didn't really see a point for me to buy a third key, although they advocate for having at least 1 spare key, and that he didn't see any point in trying to persuade me to consider having a third key, and that he agreed that the math didn't make sense for me, because I was going to end up spending more money to get a key, because if I'm going to have to spend full price to get half price, I might as well just spend full price and not get a second key at all, right? Because it's a second and third key, right? So he offered me a solution. So he said that what they would do is they would provide a full refund of the key that I want to have, including shipping costs, but I would not send it back to them. I would keep it, and then I would make a new purchase for that key that I continued to retain, and then a different key using the Black Friday code. So I buy one, the one I already own, that's been refunded, and I get 150% off. And so I thought about it. I looked on the website and looked at the options that were available, and then I had a question, which one would be the best option to get. And instead of trying to upsell me on the more expensive one that I had mentioned, which is the one of the FIDO ones that has the fingerprint scanner, He said, I don't really see that there's any point in you getting that one. There's nothing wrong with it or anything like that, but for your needs, it probably isn't necessary. So he didn't try to upsell me, and that says something about the integrity of Yubico, because he certainly could have, and I would have bought that one, but he was honest, and that was very valuable to me. So, and he said that he would eventually be able to hopefully get me answers to my questions about the policy and about the certificates, but he couldn't specify that, when he would definitely have that information. In the case of the policies, there may not be a response, but at least he could find out for me maybe by Monday whether or not he would give me an answer on the certificates. So so that was very pleasing, and so I actually have placed a new order and followed his instructions, and it was the instructions were comprehensive enough, but concise, so that I was able to place the order without making a mistake. And it included screenshots so that I would know because one of the things he wanted me to do was to write, "Do not ship the key that I'm still in possession of. Partial order already received." And then, of course, there's the code that had to be inputted that saved me 50% off the second key. And so I've just ordered it and confirmed and let them know that. And so now I'll just wait for my refund, and I will wait for my key. And I'm pretty pleased with him going so far as to help me that much. He is a senior customer support specialist, so he's a step above Michael. So he has more authority, because that's how it works at these in a customer service or technical support department. There are layers of people that in the lowest layers have almost no power to do anything other than like give advice or open a trouble ticket, whereas the upper layers, they're the ones who can actually make some decisions. It may not necessarily be the decision that you hope for, but it is a decision. And sometimes if your claim is valid, you can escalate up the chain. Now, there are some companies, like years ago I had a problem with Greyhound, and I could not get anywhere with those people. And I will never, ever, ever ride on Greyhound again. And I had some problems with Columbia Sportswear Company, where they had screwed I had a product that was defective, and I was trying to get help, and basically they were not being cooperative, and I said, "Hey, I need to talk to somebody above you," and the response was, "Well, there's nobody above me," and I was like, "That's BS, because you're just whatever it was, supervisor, manager, I don't recall." So I didn't have to deal with any of that crap. I mean, the only drop of the ball, so to speak, was when Michael was not proactive in offering what I needed, which was understandable. But if you want to have a great team, you need to take proactive steps. And number two, that when I said to Michael that, "Hey, this is not a good deal for me, because now I'm going to have 3 keys, and I'm just not going to use the code at all." But then, Jim picked up the ball, but only because I gave feedback. I think that, and I can't confirm this because it's possible that Michael escalated this to Jim, which would be great, but I have no way of knowing, because the only thing that Jim mentioned was that he received the feedback that I had submitted. So as far as I can tell, if I had not submitted the feedback to Yubico, I would not be in the positive position I am right now, and I would not be doing a positive review of Yubico. I would be doing at best a neutral review. Well, probably neutral, yeah, or maybe slightly positive. um, so number one, that says that this company does care about their customers, even if they have an exchange policy that is kind of weird, a little bit, but yeah. So two, that means that although there are a lot of companies that will never respond to the feedback you give, it is always worth it to try, because that feedback may lead to further action on the part of the company to give you help. Another example is from a different company. Is I bought a food product from an Australian company. I think it's called Boomerang, and I was not impressed. And so I sent them a message because they request feedback. Now, I've done that before. There was some cookie company, Larry and Lenny or something like that requests feedback on their products. I gave them feedback. They never responded. ABC cookie company, I asked for feedback. I contacted them with feedback, and they actually responded back to me. And Boomerang responded back and actually sent me some coupons, which I used to buy a couple of their products, and happily, it turned out that the products tasted better. Still not amazing, but better. So it's just a lot of people feel like, what's the point in trying? It's not going to make any difference. But actually, it does sometimes make a difference. Another example is when I had an injury with at Amazon. My shoulder is damaged permanently, apparently. I had a workers' compensation case open, and I was not able to get the case manager to respond to me. And I escalated it to her team lead. He didn't respond to me. I escalated it to their boss. She didn't respond to me. So finally I called in and said, look, I said, she's not responding to me. He's not responding to me. She's not responding to me. I need to talk to somebody who's actually going to help me. And so I was given to a regional director. And that person, within half an hour of getting off the call with her, not only had she approved the MRI that I needed to have, but she had put in process the approval to get the approval for physical therapy. And the team leader, who had completely ignored me, was calling up and saying, "Oh, wow, what can I do to help you?" Whoa. And he was like, falling all over himself. So, and it definitely can potentially help. But sometimes you have to get to the right person, because sometimes the little people either don't care or are overworked or have no power to do anything about the problem. And sometimes they try to do something, but their boss is like, nope, talk to the hand. I'm not helping. So it just really depends. But, ultimately, for us consumers, if we get a company that kind of stonewalls us, our automatic assumption should be it's the company's fault. And certainly as an Amazon customer and as an Amazon employee, Amazon does some great things and does some really crappy things. But getting back to Yubico. So ultimately, they have because of the feedback, not even an escalation, just a feedback form that was sent to me, I was able to get satisfaction from them. I feel like I shouldn't have had to fill out a feedback form, but at least there's some mechanism in place, and they can improve on that, obviously, by, Michael should have responded back and said, hey, I understand how you feel, and I'm giving this to Jim, and Jim's going to help you out further with this, or something like that. But at least there's some mechanism that can sometimes help people. So Yubico, I'm going to give them an 8 out of 10, because ultimately they did try to help. Michael tried to help. It wasn't the full solution, but it was at least an effort. And Jim definitely helped out more than, ultimately, I was like really like okay, I'm giving the feedback, and then he contacts me, and I'm like giving more feedback, and I'm not really hoping for anything at this point, but because sometimes people say, well, I really want to help, see what I can do to help you, and they don't really mean it, but Jim did. So thank you, Jim. Thank you, Yubico. I look forward to getting the second key, and I appreciate you guys working with me on that. Thanks for watching, folks, and have a great day.